Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Guns and Guitars, and today I have just sort of a showcase for you. Thanks to one of the clients who purchased a Behemoth prototype pre-order on my last round, they requested a 5-string version. So now we have the first ever Behemoth 5-string prototype. And this thing turned out super cool. It plays and sounds as good as it looks, but you don't need me to tell you that because you can hear the sound demos. Now, a couple really cool things going on with this bass specifically that I want to tell you about. Firstly, we stained it white, which is extremely difficult to do, and I don't think the camera's quite going to pick it up how well this came out. But in order to do a good white stain, you need to have a really light colored wood. So luckily I had that option. I had purchased a few blanks of Paulownia, which is a very light colored wood. It's also a very lightweight wood, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But probably the coolest thing about this 5-string prototype is that it really didn't cost me that much more to manufacture than the 4-string variant. So typically, when you look at a 4-string and a 5-string variant of the same instrument, it typically ends up being about 1.5 times the cost to get the 5-string version. You know, if you're looking at a $500 4-string, then the 5-string variant's usually going to be around $750, right? Or if you're looking at a $1,000 4-string, then the 5-string variant's going to be closer to $1,500. But that's not the case with these. It honestly worked out pretty well. At least on this one, I was able to do the 5-string variant for only $150 more than a 4-string, which is pretty awesome considering we have custom hand wound pickups. So thankfully my custom shop was able to make a 5-string version of my vintage modern pickups for this build and didn't cost that much more than the 4-string ones. The neck was, a little bit more expensive because there's a little bit more material, a little bit more wood, as well as, had to add an additional tuning machine as well. But most of the cost, believe it or not, is actually in the bridge. Because I couldn't use my Hipshot knockoff 4-string bridges that I normally do, they don't make a knockoff 5-string version. So I had to buy the real thing. So this is a real Hipshot bridge, and that was the majority of the cost. And like I mentioned, it's made out of Paulownia, which is an extremely lightweight wood, and that was something that the client had requested. They wanted a very lightweight 5-string. So just to give you an idea, a standard jazz bass weighs between 8.5 and 9.5 pounds. And this other bass that I'm going to show you in just a minute, this one's made out of Sissoo, which is Indian rosewood, and this one weighs 8.8 pounds, so right in that 8.5 to 9.5 pounds. Typically, a 5-string jazz bass would be in the 9 to 10 pound category. This one weighs 6.4 pounds. That is lighter weight than most guitars. Okay, Strats and Tellies typically start at about 7 pounds. I think SGs, which are known to be lightweight, are in that 6 to 7 pound range. So it weighs about as much as a Gibson SG for a 5-string bass. So that's pretty amazing. So if you are a real player, if you're used to standing on stage for hours with a bass slung across your shoulder, you know that a heavy bass gets really heavy after a few hours. I did make a prototype a long time ago out of Paulownia, and it was my favorite bass to gig because of how lightweight it was. So this is definitely a good wood choice if you are a player. Now, don't get weight confused with quality or sustain. Lots of people do that. They pick up a lightweight instrument and they think, oh, it's cheap quality, or oh, it's not going to sustain as well. Paulownia is a very stiff hardwood. Okay, it's very lightweight, but it's very stiff, so it sustains really well, especially with the Hipshot bridge, and we of course do a string through body and a bone nut. There is more sustain on this bass than anyone would ever need, honestly. And so I'm really thrilled with how this turned out. And so hopefully maybe on the next round of pre-orders, I'll get some more people interested in 5-string versions. And that should give you guys an idea. The additional cost required to make a 5-string version is going to be about $150 to $200 depending on what the current market is for the supplies that I use to build these things. So now I'm going to show you that other bass that I kind of teased. So this one here, like I already mentioned, is made out of Sissoo or Indian rosewood. And typically I leave Sissoo natural because it has such a beautiful wood grain. But this client requested that I dye it blue. Now, I know in this lighting it kind of looks more green. There's lots of blue in it, but also, that Sissoo has lots of natural yellow and red tones in it. So it does get a lot of sort of aqua tones as well as kind of some, you know, purple or maroon sort of tones in it. But I always wondered how Sissoo would take stain or dye. I don't need to wonder anymore. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And weight-wise, this is what I'm used to holding for a standard jazz bass, okay? Like I said, it's right in there. It feels heavy after just holding that lightweight 5-string, but this is, you know, what I'm used to. And so this is a really good weight. Some things going on with this one, again, at the client's request, you notice it doesn't have the big 1/4-inch magnets in the pickups. That's because these are my humbucker, hum-canceling jazz pickups. These pickups are for sale on my website if you guys are interested. They are the brightest sounding humbuckers that I have ever heard. So yeah, not what you expect for humbucker jazz pickups. They sound very jazzy and maybe even on the brighter side of what you'd expect from a jazz pickup. They don't sound at all like a P pickup or anything like that. So very cool. Of course, both these basses have my Dano Sound wiring kit pre-installed in them. That means that you have a parallel, like a jazz bass, or series for a mid-range boost, right? Which is very cool. And then we got our stereo split or blower bypass, depending on how you are using it, if you're, you know, biamping externally or not. So this bass specifically, you notice, has a little bit different neck and headstock. That's because I went ahead and upgraded this client to a handmade neck as I am practicing and prototyping making my own necks. One of the things on this round of pre-orders, one of the headaches that I've had to deal with, is just some quality control issues trying to order some imported necks from China. It's been a huge headache, and even to this day, I still don't have a good batch of necks that I ordered from 6 months ago. And so I've been working on prototyping my own. And so some cool things to point out about this one, you notice it's got a 0 fret, and there is no nut, just a retainer bar. The retainer bar is just to keep a little extra pressure on that 0 fret so it doesn't slide around. And the tone is awesome because it's very consistent across the entire neck, being a 0 fret. You can tell that there's not really a change in tone between the open strings or the fretted strings. And with it being, again, a string through body and that 0 fret with a nice shallow neck angle, it sustains really well. And then you'll notice too my very subtle multi-scale on there. It's so subtle that you won't even know that you're playing a multi-scale, but it just makes that low E feel so much better. It's not floppy at all. You get balanced tension across all 4 strings. It's just awesome. It turned out wonderful. So very excited for these, and they are ready to ship out. So got 3 more, I think, basses on this round of pre-orders. Then I'll be opening up another round. So if you guys are interested in purchasing on my next round of orders, you can just head to my website, sign up for my email list. That's going to be the best way. I'm going to use that as the early bird notification list when I am ready to accept some more pre-orders. And these 2 basses really give you an idea of the customization options that I'm currently offering in this prototyping phase, okay? Once I actually officially launch my brand, probably not gonna have as many options, but because we're in the prototyping phase, we can kind of try everything out and see what works. So we got that 5-string, we got the humbuckers, we got the multi-scale, 0 fret, all that stuff. And then of course for the finish, different stains and dyes and things like that. So very cool stuff. And let me know down in the comments what you guys think of these basses. Are they cool? Are they something that you guys would rock? If not, let me know what your idea of a prototype Behemoth bass would look like. I look forward to reading those comments. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars, and I'll see you in those comments.